Morning, Polis, Cyprus. Up with the bee eaters. See them on the wire over there. Imagine being able to eat bees. Be like a dream come true. Glorious. And imagine they'd be quite zesty and tangy. Bit like those oranges you can see lying around everywhere. I always feel like picking them up. But apparently they're all full of worms, so I'm not going to bother. Look at that. Over the Troodos Mountains, you can see that huge nuclear fireball blasting deadly radiation at us across the horrifying and pitiless void of deep space. Absolutely lovely. Today I'm heading back down to the coast for another snorkeling adventure. This time I'm going to go offshore, see what I can find there in the clear blue waters of the Mediterranean. Now, Cyprus isn't just fascinating for its amazing array of wildlife and its rich and long history. It also has an epic tale to tell from the time long before humans, starting with its tumultuous birth at a time when T-Rex was still stalking the earth, when Africa was inching its way up towards Europe and scrunching up the tectonic plates. Much later on, around the time that an ape-like creature somewhere in the African forest would have two kids, one of which would give rise to the chimpanzees and the other of which would give rise to all of us. A right old kerfuffle of magma was pouring out of the Earth's crust to lay down the foundations of what we now know as this beautiful island of Cyprus. And the legacy of this is an amazing array of minerals of beautiful colours, from red jasper to banded agate, and even fossils of long vanished coral reefs. And I'm hoping to witness some of this geological wealth today. Just before I came away to Cyprus, a mate of mine who lives a couple of doors down, Chris, came round with a delivery that I'd missed, and he said, "Oh, so you are in then?" And I said, "Can you just help us carry this through to the back?" because it was quite heavy. And I had a bunch of buckets full of Triassic bone bed sitting on my patio ready to be processed. And he goes, "Why are you into all this rock stuff anyway?" And I said, "Oh, Chris, you like stories, right?" And he says, "Not really." And I proceed to spend about 10 minutes explaining how storytelling is innate to the human condition and we need it to anchor ourselves in an uncaring, bewildering universe. And he backed down eventually. And I said, "Well, the story of rocks is the longest, oldest and most important story of all. It's the story of the world. It's the story of us. Now, if you plonk yourself in that deck chair, I'll fill you in." And he said, "Sorry, I've got to get back. I've got to finish the pointing on my extension." I should have pointed out that pointing by its very nature is heavily mineral dependent. But by the time I'd thought of that, he'd buggered off home. So this is beautiful and everything, but when am I going to see some fish? That's the question. Oh, look at this. I've been stirring up the sediment with my fins, and it's attracted some right little chancers looking for a free meal. Look at those. Those are ornate wrasse, the green ones. For my money, they're as gaudy and brilliant as anything you'll find on a coral reef. Look, do you see that? That's like something out of Street Fighter 2. Sonic Boom! Or whatever that floppy-haired blonde guy used to go on about. Now, wrasse are quite fascinating in that they start off as ladies, and then as they get older, they become men. They're quite gender fluid. And as someone who's in touch with my feminine side, I can appreciate that. These shimmering little discoid toe rags zipping about all over the place, these are sea bream, and they're a very successful little guild of omnivorous fish. Very diverse, fill lots of different niches on the reef. These particular ones are white sea bream. Hang on, who's this little handsome chap? or should I say lady. This is a baby dusky grouper, and like the wrasse, they start off as females and they turn to males when they get bigger, and then get up to about 5 foot long if they survive the spear fisherman's attacks. They're quite endangered. Hey, come back here. Where do you think you're going? I think she thinks that I'm possibly a Mediterranean monk seal, as a large blubbery mammal. You don't necessarily think of seals when you think of the Mediterranean, and that's probably because the only seal native to the Med is the monk seal, and they're almost extinct, sadly. Although down the coast here, in some protected caves, is one of their last refuges. Hopefully they can flourish once more, given the chance. So it's not the time yet to close the book on the final chapter of the Mediterranean monk seal story, unlike their cousin, the Caribbean monk seal, whose last individual popped his clogs in the 1950s. Poor bugger. So what's going on down here then? Some sort of shell festival going on? Smorgasbord of algae being devoured? Oh, look at this, it's another dusky grouper baby. Oi, don't you know you're supposed to be endangered, right? Yeah, you. Hey, what's going on? Someone switched off the bloody gravity. Oi, bloody hell! Switch it back on! Now, come on! Phew, that's better, thank God for that. What we got here? More shells. Ah, some nice mullet there. Me old pals. I'll say hello to your mates next time I go in the Aphrodite Lagoon, okay? Yeah? Alright, good. Who's this? This cuddly little chap is a scorpion fish. Got poisonous spines on his back, so much though I want to give him a little cuddle, I better not. See you, mate. Look, it's another dusky grouper. I mean, it's a great sign there's so many of them here, because as I say, they are in trouble, and the fact there's large numbers of young means that somewhere around here they're managing to get big enough to spawn. Maybe at one of the marine reserves further down the coast. They're getting enough of a respite to be able to do that. They need to reach nearly 1 metre long before they can breed, so there must be some big uns out there somewhere. Oh, here's the big brother. Hello, fella. They seem to love skulking in the little holes and hollows. Reminds me a bit of something out of Lord of the Rings. If J.R. Tolkien had been a cod, I imagine this is the story he would have written. But we'll never know, sadly. Oh, look at this. You see these fan-like traces and inscriptions into the rock. These are the traces of those ancient coral reefs from the Miocene I was telling you about. From a time when this would have been a warm tropical sea. And there, that's the remains of a different species of coral. There, the holes would have been the snug little homes of polyps, just perfectly designed to trigger someone's trypophobia. Some people have that, a fear of little holes. I don't know, I think it looks great. Now this time of year the weather can be surprisingly variable. It seems like the swell is really picking up, lots more to see, but I'm going to have to come back in another time. Snorkeling is very much a fair weather pursuit. Blimey, it's like being trapped in a huge, very attractive washing machine full of rocks. I mean, it's absolutely beautiful, but you're still at the end of the day being held hostage by white goods. Yeah, definitely going to have to head back in, I think. We're actually going to make it. Christ, actually getting really hard to swim against this. Starting to feel a bit like a struggle for survival. Look at all that. seaweed everywhere, bits of bloody eel grass. Ish. Okay. Oh. Whew. Oh, I think we've just about made it. Oh no, there's a tsunami coming. Bloody hell. Okay, if I survive this, I'll see you next time for another snorkeling adventure in Cyprus.